Okay, folks, it is December 22nd, 2017. And before we know it, it'll be New Year's and 2018 will be upon us. I've really been enjoying hearing about everyone's plans, stitching plans for what they're hoping to accomplish in 2018. I always enjoy listening to what other people have in store for their resolutions, whether it's stitching or otherwise. I really like hearing what people are planning to do. For myself, I find that I've stopped making New Year's resolutions or New Year's stitching plans because my personality is such that if I don't accomplish something that I say I'm going to, I tend to find myself spiraling down into, a very guilty conscience, and I have a hard time letting those feelings go. So I have found for myself, it's easier to just not do that. And instead, the only thing that I plan for myself for 2018 as far as stitching goals, I plan to stitch a lot more. I plan to stitch as much as I possibly can, whenever I can, wherever I can, and stitch my stash. I'm going to start my stash if I haven't already. If I have it kitted up, I plan on starting it. I plan on finishing some things. I don't know which things they're going to be that I'm going to finish, but I know for sure there will be some finishes. I'm going to frame some things. I'm going to turn some other things into bags. Basically, I'm just going to enjoy the beautiful things that I have, and I'm going to use them. And I think, that makes me feel pretty good. And I also think that for me, something completely accomplishable, no pressure. So I have now finished this little part of his coat. There's a few more stitches up here with the same thread, but I think, I might as well just go ahead and add them in while I'm here, and I've got the needle loaded. So I'm just going to carry them up a few stitches here. Should be the right spot. Looks good. So another Friday upon us. Thank you for all of your comments and wonderful, wonderful things that you had to say about the different Vlogmas episodes that I put out this week. It was really fun. I really had a great time. I know Patty had a great time. It was fun to have Adrian on the podcast for a few minutes. She's one of my closest friends, and I like sharing her with you guys too. And, I'm already looking ahead to next year and thinking what sort of things I could do next year for Vlogmas. Now, I had a few comments yesterday on the tamari books in particular, as far as cost of the books. The one book itself, yes, is quite expensive. The Barbara Zeus book. That book is more expensive now than when I purchased it. And I believe we originally got them through, well, I bought mine through Kathy, and I believe that she brought them in through Nordic Needle, who was very, very good at, selling those sort of more obscure things that people were wanting to buy. And it's quite a shame that they have stopped their online business. But I do have some things to say about the costs of the books for tamari. I'd like to have a more detailed conversation with the books in hand and actually talking a little bit more about tamari at the same time. So I think that's a conversation that's probably better suited to when I'm in front of the camera with the books in my hand and the tamari balls in my hand. And I think I'm going to save that for a regular episode. So I do thank the few people who left me comments about the prices of the books that they had found, and how they are rather expensive and rather dear, and that's out of reach for a lot of people. So I think that kind of discussion is good. It's valid, and I do appreciate everyone taking time to leave me comments like that. So again, I am going to discuss it in more detail, but I think I'm going to wait for a regular episode to talk about that. Because Friday Off the Grid is supposed to be about partying. It's supposed to be fun. Not that talking about tamari isn't fun, but I think it's, let's keep things a little lighter today. And no one needs to think about how much money they're spending right now, do they? Of course, we all need to think about how much money we're spending right about now. This time of year, it is notoriously expensive. Doesn't seem to matter what you do. If you're hosting Christmas, we end up spending a little more money on groceries, supplies for the house, for the guests that you're going to be having, to the gifts that need to be bought, to the extra baking that needs to be done. There are always a lot of extra expenses this time of year, that's for sure. So, just for tonight, let's put a few stitches into the stash that we already have and appreciate what we already own. Now, as you can see, I have a little guest here with me today. You can see her this time. She's down there on the floor, snoring away. Can you hear the snoring? She's sound asleep. Anyway, if you're hearing that kind of rumbling noise, that is Daria. Now, I know that's a funny name for a dog, so I thought I would tell you a little bit more about her story. I've told you about Eddie, our beagle, before, but I haven't told you the story of our golden retriever. So we also adopted her as an older dog. She was 5 years old when we adopted her, and we adopted her from a breeder. And the reason why we were looking specifically for a golden retriever was because we'd had a bit of an experience with a German Shepherd, Ginger, our previous dog before Daria. Ginger was a dog that we adopted as a puppy from a litter, and at 18 months old started showing signs of territorial aggression, and not just territorial aggression, but dangerous signs of behavioral issues where she wouldn't even recognize members of her own family. Say if I came home with my hair straightened, she would growl at me, and she would growl if my children were wearing a hood on their heads. Like if Sarah was in a bathrobe and she had her hood up, Ginger would growl at her, and the behavior was getting worse. The vet was refusing to. They wouldn't do heartworm tests on her, even though even with a muzzle, they were not willing to do that. They recommended aggressive breed trainers to us, which we did seek the help when the behavior, obviously, time and patience. This behavior grew from about the time she was 10 months old until 18 months. So it was almost a full year that we did try ourselves to train the behavior. We did obedience classes, etc., etc. But the aggressiveness we thought with time and patience and care, etc., that we would be able to help her. But in the end, we did ask a professional to come and help us. And I kid you not, he was like the Caesar Milan of dog trainers. And he came to our house and he spent a few hours with us. And, it was shocking the amount of progress that we made within that short period of time. To make a long story short, in the end, he sort of tested her without telling us that he was going to do this. And at the very end of the visit, he sort of tested her with this little trick that he had, where he threw no, that's not right. He didn't throw a toy for her. He made a sudden movement where he sort of got up from his chair quickly. And that was enough for her. If she hadn't been on the leash, she would have taken him down. And this was at the end of 2 hours of training. She knew who he was. She knew us. Everything in the room was safe. She knew where she was safe. But this sort of behavior of his triggered this response in her where she was going to take him down, and she was going to really do some serious damage. And I know some people may not agree with the decision that we made, but we had small children in our home, and at this point my son was now afraid of dogs. We didn't believe in passing the problem on to someone else. We didn't believe in giving the dog away to a farm or another family, because this dog was going to hurt someone. And this was basically what the trainer told us. He said, this dog has traits that the police force would look for in a dog to train as a biter, to train as a dog that they would use on the force, that would be, under constant training, 24-hour supervision, a dog that would have the proper kind of, I don't quite know how to say that, but I think you know what I mean. The police force wouldn't take a dog like this. They buy their animals, from a specific breeder and so on and so forth. We couldn't just give our dog to a police force. It wouldn't work that way. But anyways, this trainer said, this is not a behavior you can train out of the dog. Just like humans, some dogs are born with a genetic predisposition to, be a little bit crazy. Your dog has territorial aggression. She's only 18 months old now. It's going to get worse, and you can't train this behavior out of the dog, unless you spend the next 2 years and the rest of the dog's life basically keeping her on a lead, and she's never out of your sight, ever. And you have young children who bring their friends to your house, and she's going to hurt someone. And so it was really tough. We had to make the decision to have her put down. And I know that some people would not agree with that decision, but for our family, it was really, really hard, you guys. It was devastating. She was our family pet. But we knew that she was going to hurt someone, and I couldn't take the chance that would happen. And my son was afraid of dogs at this point. So, but we'd always had a dog, and we believed in dogs and having dogs as members of the family. So the trainer, we said to him, this is what's happened. And he didn't make the decision for us, but he helped us make us feel like we were making the right decision, because you can't give that kind of problem away. And so anyways, we said, okay, Nicholas is afraid of dogs. What is the breed of dog that is the most gentle, the most, unassuming, goofball, but we like big dogs too. Well, I say that. We like any kind of dog. What's the breed of dog that is going to be the best sort of road back to him trusting dogs again? And the trainer said, well, golden retriever is a pretty safe bet. So he knew of a breeder in not close to us, a few hours away, who bred retrievers and sometimes adopted out their older dogs when they were retired, who would do well in single dog homes. And so that's what we did. Daria came from this particular breeder that was a few hours away, and she had been a show dog, and she had been bred for a litter of puppies once, and then they discovered that her grandfather, the dog's grandfather, had a genetic eye disease called pigmentary uveitis that is genetic. It happens later in life for the dog, and it can be quite painful for the dog. It's treatable with drops, and I believe they eventually go blind, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty certain. I know Mary, one of our party participants, used to breed golden retrievers, so I have a funny feeling that she probably knows a little bit more about this than I do. Anyways, long story short, they were never going to breed Daria again because of the possibility that she may be a genetic carrier of this eye disease, and so they had made the decision to adopt her out to a family for her retirement. And since we were looking for that particular type of dog, she was the ticket. And she's always been much more interested in humans than other dogs. And they knew that they couldn't give her the amount of attention and affection that she craved. And so she came to live with us. She's been with us ever since. So she's now 11 and a half. So we've had her for 6.5 years. And she's mostly my dog. So she does follow me around the house all day long. Her snoring actually is quite funny. She's getting quite loud here. And she's been a joy to have. So anyways, that is my long-winded story about dogs, probably way more than you ever wanted to know. So I'm really hoping that you got a lot of stitching done while I was telling you that long-winded story. But, I have to tell you, the one thing that I love the most about these Friday stitching sessions is that we do get to find out a little bit about each other's lives. We do get to learn a little bit more, intimate detail about, what makes Letitia from the Crafty Curator, or Ginger Gerald, or Michelle Bendy, or, Abby Bella, whoever. Pick one. There are so many. Stitcherista. I love hearing everybody's stories. I love it. Michelle Bendy. If you didn't watch last week's Sunday Off the Grid brunch with Michelle Bendy Stitches, go put it on and have a listen while you stitch. Even though I'm really hoping she's going to have another one out on Sunday. Even if she does, watch 2 of them in a row, back to back. Because last Sunday, she talked all about how she and her husband made the decision to move to Hawaii. Hawaii, folks. And, they were young, just finished school. They didn't have their daughter Ro yet. And, the bravery that took to just uproot your life and move to paradise because You want to. I mean, does it get any better than that? I mean, what a story. I couldn't stop listening to her. Just thought it was a wonderful story. It was fascinating. And I loved learning that about her. I loved hearing that story. You know, and then Ginger Gerald telling us about his Christmas traditions or lack of Christmas traditions. And Letitia, you guys, this was so funny. She is so funny. She makes me laugh every time I watch her or listen to her or stitch with her. She's so fun. She liked what I had to say about my 3 favorite foods. And she thinks that we're twins because she has pretty much the exact same 3 favorite foods, except she wanted to add spaghetti to her list. Well, what she doesn't know is that pasta is also a favorite food of mine, but I can't just limit it to spaghetti. Pasta is a food group. So, Letitia, we are crafty, quirky unicorns separated at birth. And I thought that was the funniest thing you'd ever said when you described us as that, because it's true. And you know what? In her last Stitch With Me video, she was talking about pet peeves. And this is a thread that I think Ginger Gerald started. Am I right about that, you guys? I can't remember who started it, but I know Ginger Gerald was telling us about his pet peeves, and one of them is calling things delicious that aren't food, such as babies being delicious. And that's a pet peeve of his, which I think is hilarious because I use that word all the time when I'm talking about different threads and things like that. I will use that because I think it's a wonderfully descriptive word. Anyways, sorry, Ginger Gerald. But that did make me laugh. But Letitia, she started talking about her pet peeves, and what I thought was really quite sweet was she said, okay, we're, 15, 20 minutes in. I know my husband's not going to hear this, so I feel safe telling you this, which I thought was really funny. And then she said that she is bothered by his whistling. And I just about dropped my stitching because let me tell you, friends, I hate whistling, which is the weirdest, strangest thing to have a pet peeve about because it's whistling. People are happy when they are whistling. I am generally a very happy person, but I cannot stand whistling. And, my children are exceptional whistlers, and it drives me bananas, and they know it too. Sarah especially has a very, very clear as a bell whistle, and she loves to whistle. So it's really it's a shame that I don't enjoy it because my kids love to whistle. And so, but unlike Letitia, I am not nearly as kind and gracious as she is. And I let my family know in no uncertain terms, please stop whistling inside the house. And heaven help them if they whistle in the car when I am in the car, because that just makes me want to launch right out of my seat. It's something to do with the pitch of the whistle in my head when I hear it. It is worse than nails on a chalkboard to me. And I have never in my life met anyone else who was bothered by whistling. And my family make fun of me. They tease me. When I say, "Oh, could you please stop whistling?" And my husband will say, he'll put on his jokey voice and he'll say, "Oh, well, that's it. No more fun in this family. We will not be having any fun today because your mother wants you to stop whistling. No more happiness." And I get it. And I think that's funny too. And I can laugh at myself. Fair enough. But I have never met anyone else who didn't like whistling. And when Letitia said that, I just couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it. It was pretty funny. So anyways. See, I'm done the reindeer's backside. You're welcome. I'm working on the trunk, the head. He's still headless. At least he has 4 legs, but he doesn't have a head yet. We're getting there. If I can count. Okay, so anyway, pet peeves. Any more pet peeves? I have a couple more little ones that I can think of. As far as eating things, Letitia mentioned she didn't like when people smack their lips when they're eating. And I guess, yeah, that would bother me as well. But I think more than that, and I can't explain why, but when people are eating things like grapes and they're crunchy and wet, that noise, I don't like that. I have to move away or occupy myself with something else because that bothers me. I've never told John that bothers me. So I guess I've been polite about that. And there's no way he's ever going to watch this video. So that's another small pet peeve, but not really. I can live with that one. Another big one is that I don't like to walk up or down the stairs first. If there are two people or, a bunch of people who need to go up the stairs at the same time, I cannot go first. I have to go last. And I think this has to do with when I was a kid and my dad he loved to tickle us or startle us or scare us. And I can remember him, if he was coming up behind us on the stairs, he would grab the backs of our ankles. You know that feeling when someone kind of grabs at your knee and kind of tickles it a little bit? Well, he would do that occasionally while we were walking up the stairs. And it got me every time. I hated it. And I think that's why, because I get that feeling when someone is behind me on the stairs that they're going to do that. Just that sort of tingling in the back of your neck, that bit of uncomfortableness. And I hate it. I hate it. So I like to walk up or down the stairs last, if there's a choice. Isn't that funny? Such a weird thing. Anyway. Well, this is going a little faster than expected. Hopefully I'm not making a bunch of mistakes. I like that this is just DMC. Very simple, straightforward. The colors, DMC colors, are so reliable. You know what you're getting when it's 3781. Unless, of course, you mistake that for a slightly different color and start stitching the leg of your reindeer in a gray. Not that I know anybody who did that. It's funny, when Kathy at Thread and I, when she and her daughter were picking out bridesmaids' dresses for her daughter's wedding, they were discussing the color that they wanted for the bridesmaids' dresses in DMC numbers, because that was a language that they understood together. And I thought that was really sweet. So I have, I bought the supplies I showed on Wednesday when I was visiting with Miss Patty at Thread and I bought the supplies to make myself a giant pillow. Also, I had some very good suggestions on that video about, I have mentioned that I'm going to be using DMC, which I am going to stick with. I'm going to start with 4 strands and I'm going to see about the coverage there, because I have a feeling that I am probably going to go with 6-strand coverage, only because I really like a full coverage. So I'm going to experiment a little bit. Anyways, I had a few people leave comments and say that either they had done something similar, or, you could use a pearl cotton instead of DMC, and then it's just the one strand, which of course makes total sense. That is an excellent option. And I believe my friend Ada in France mentioned that she is going to be starting a pillow soon using a Satsuma design. Satsuma designs from, I believe they're on Etsy, and they do the Little City series. You might have seen Little Tokyo or Little Paris. Amazing, colorful, bright, beautiful designs. And she said, Ada said that she had seen some people do pillows with using those as designs. And I think that is a fantastic idea. So I think one of those might be in my future as well. And Verena, my good friend in Germany, if you are watching and listening, it's probably either your Saturday or Sunday morning there in Germany. Check out Satsuma Designs. I think you may have already with their zodiac signs, but check out some of their other designs as well. I think you'll really love them. Let's see, how are we doing here? Time to end this thread. There we go. Sorry, I had to edit out a bit of sneezing and coughing there for a few minutes. I have a funny feeling that I am coming down with a little bit of a cold. So hopefully nothing too serious, as we are just a few days away from our big celebration. So there was one other Stitch With Me video that I wanted to mention, but this is not one that I've watched yet, but I wanted to let you know that it was kind of on my radar and something that I was really looking forward to checking out this weekend. And I do not have the proper spelling of it in front of me, and I am not going to be doing any editing on this particular video other than the beginning and the end per se, because I still have a mountain of work ahead of me today, and I would really like to get everything done and wrapped up so that tomorrow I can start enjoying holiday family time. So anyways, this her name I believe is Yanny, Yany or I can't remember. I am planning on watching her videos this weekend. She's already very, very popular. And I can see from her thumbnails. I watched her first episode. She's an amazing stitcher, and I need to go into my YouTube thing and figure out her proper name so that I can tell you more about her the next time I record. She records, from what I've seen, she records 2 different Stitch With Me videos. She does one in English and she does one in Spanish. And I'm actually really excited to watch the one in Spanish. And I know that sounds funny because I don't speak Spanish, period. I speak no Spanish. I mean, I could probably ask for a beer. That's about it. But I want to watch her Spanish one because I love listening to different languages. I love listening to people speaking in different languages. And watching her stitch while she's speaking in Spanish, I can't think of a nicer way to spend half an hour than keeping company with someone from a totally different part of the world who shares a similar passion. And I'm really looking forward to that. So the next time I do a proper FlossTube episode, I will have lots more information on her. But I'm pretty sure that if you just did a Google search for Yanystitcher, she would come up. And I believe she has a pretty popular Instagram page as well. It's either Y-A-N-I or Y-A-N-Y. And please, if you know the stitcher that I'm talking about, or if by any slim chance you're actually watching this, please leave me a comment on this video and I'll make sure that I put the information properly in the pull down menu. If someone wants to send me that, that would be great. You guys are absolutely incredible. You know, the video that I did, the house tour of Miss Patty's house, and you remember she was looking for the pattern with the blackwork iris, and she said, "Oh, you know, I've been looking for this pattern for a few years now. I can't remember where it was. I can't find it." I kid you not, within an hour of me posting that video, I had Patty from Newfoundland, Patty, the designer who did that Newfoundland cross stitch that I purchased and still have to start. Patty, within an hour of that video posting, sent me the answer. She sent me the information. She said, "I know exactly which magazine it's in." And then Ingeborg Stitch Too Far sent me that information. And then Susan from California, Golden Stitcher on Instagram, she sent me the information. And I am kid you not, at least 3 or 4 other people, and I can't remember your names off the top of my head, all sent me the proper information on how Patty could find that pattern and that information and how to stitch it, and even offered to send it to her. Can you believe that? And then literally 2 weeks later, my friend Dawn from Sarnia, who is she's also a knitting podcaster, her and Lisa, the Codependent Knitters, funny, fantastic girls from Sarnia, love their podcast. And Dawn posted that she was looking for a very specific pattern that had pears in it. And she gave a little bit more information on it, and she posted a photograph of a design that was similar to the one that she was looking for. And once again, within about 6 hours, someone had sent her the exact pattern, the exact name of where it was, what it was, and offered to mail it to her. Can you believe that? I mean, honestly, talk about needle in a haystack. Stitchers are amazing. Just amazing, generous, kind, really super smart people. So much fun. It just made me smile to read that. And I know it made Dawn's day. Too fun. So if you haven't joined us over on Facebook yet, the group over there is growing. I believe we are almost at 500 members. It's called Friday Off the Grid, and you do have to answer a little question to get into the group. We have lots of people who are now joining because they've seen the group is being recommended to them through Facebook, and so I can usually tell that they are stitchers, and happy to approve people who we know are stitchers. I'm still getting requests from people who think I am a solar group living off the grid, which I do in the summer, but it's still not a solar panel off the grid group. It is definitely cross stitching. I think that's pretty clear by the gigantic picture of a prairie schooler design that I have at the top of the group. But anyways, we are having quite a bit of fun over there on that group. And there are some people on there. Joe, I know you as Puffy Joe. That's your Instagram name, but I know on Facebook your name is Joan. And Joan has come back to stitching after quite a long hiatus and has dug her stash out and is finding joy again in a hobby that, has sort of lain fallow for a while. And I don't think there's much that makes you feel nicer than knowing that you've brought a little bit of joy back into someone's life with a craft that maybe had kind of been forgotten about for a little while. And it's all stuff that she had in her house already. it's just sort of breathing second life into it, which is really nice. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So I think I'm going to get to the end of this thread and I'm going to sign off for today. A little bit more. Now you all know that I hate whistling, and you all know that I hate the sound of my husband eating grapes, and now you all know that I don't like to walk up the stairs first. You know that my golden retriever snores like a freight train, and the story behind why we have her, and the story behind our last dog, Ginger. Please be kind about that. That was I debated not telling that story. It was a hard one to share because it was one of those things where you're always second guessing whether you did the right thing. I still wonder if we did the right thing. But anyway, life's not always perfect or easy. And I think that it's important that we share the things that aren't always important or easy. Maybe that'll help someone else too. Anyways, that's it for me today, folks. We have a bit more of a neck. And the next time you see this one, I'm really hoping it will be done. At least the head of the reindeer with the antlers. That would be a good goal. Have a wonderful, wonderful holiday season, whatever you celebrate. I'm hoping to have a little mini episode, a little teeny fun thing sometime this weekend. There will be a giveaway. So watch for it. Friday Off the Grid people, you guys get first notice of it. There will be a giveaway, and it's going to be an Evertote giveaway. That usually means there's a bag. So I will probably have a little something special up on Sunday, Christmas Eve, because I can't think of anything more fun than a giveaway on Christmas Eve. Happy holidays, whatever you celebrate. We'll see you next week. Take care, guys. Happy stitching.